As MPs support airstrikes in Iraq, we speak to the family of a Yorkshireman who's on the front line in the fight against Islamic State. We'll also look back on a headline-grabbing UKIP conference in Doncaster, and we'll be asking which party has the most to lose from Farage and co. Our guest today, a Labour MP for Penistone and Stocksbridge, Angela Smith, Amjad Bashir, UKIP MEP for Yorkshire and North Lincolnshire, and joining us live from the Conservative Party conference in Birmingham is John Hayes, MP for South Holland and the Deepings in Lincolnshire and Minister of State at the Department for Transport. Good morning to you all. We shall chat in a moment, but first, as RAF jets begin combat missions in Iraq, we speak to the family of a Yorkshireman who's already fighting on the front line against the terror group known as Islamic State. They're warning that doing nothing in the fight against the militants is simply not an option. Louise Martin reports.
This is Islamic State on the front line. They filled a refuse truck with bombs, put a rock on the accelerator and drove it towards Kurdish fighters. This footage has been given to us by Gashbir, whose cousin Saman from Leeds is fighting against the radical group. Gashbir had no idea that his cousin, who had lived in West Yorkshire for 12 years, had gone to the Middle East to fight. He only realised when he saw him on the news.
I'm going to show you some video of Saman. He had an interview when he was in front line when he's fighting against ISIS.
I'm from Kurdistan, but I live in Leeds for 12 years in the UK. And I see terrorists coming to my country. It's a group of terrorists named Daesh to kill people and men, women, children.
Saman is a member of the Kurdish Peshmerga, the armed fighters of the regional authority.
So far, 3 members of our family been killed by Islamic terrorist ISIS. But as I mentioned, even hundreds of people of my family being killed, still we proud because we're going to fight against them. We do everything. We fight till the death.
Islamic States have a reputation for barbaric killings which they post online, bringing terror not just to the Middle East but across the globe.
They do something, it's just like a butchery actually. You can see when they leave any place, when they left any place, you can see the too many bodies without head. Could Peshmerga right now fighting for all the world? If Peshmerga not stop the fight, they will come to you. That is the most serious thing is if ISIS crossed the Peshmerga, definitely they will be here.
A thought echoed by his cousin on the front line.
I can't no coming back to war with terrorists. I come in with all people Kurdish here, Peshmerga, and I take guns and I come into fighting with terrorists.
Angela Smith, do you think we should be encouraging young men from Yorkshire and elsewhere to join groups like the Kurdish Peshmerga in their fight against IS?
Well, no. I mean, to be honest, what I do want to make clear is that we absolutely support the decision made by the government, as you well know. IS is a murderous organisation. It's taking British aid workers hostage. We've already seen David Haines beheaded in an outrageous act of terrorism. We believe that the stability of the region is under threat because of IS and ultimately UK national security.
How difficult is it to make the distinction? I mean, we're telling young people not to go off and join the jihadist groups out in the Middle East, but, you know, can we tell people they shouldn't be going to join the Kurds even though they're fighting against our enemy, Islamic State?
This just shows you the difficulty involved. I think the whole situation is a mess created no less by our invasion in the year 2003, which everybody has deemed it an illegal invasion anyway. It split and fractured the country into an ethnic divide, a religious divide. It should be sorted out by the regional powers there and the groups there. We're interfering in a civil war. We shouldn't be there.
I'll come back to you in a minute.
Yes.
Let's go live to the Conservative Party conference in Birmingham and join John Hayes, because you represent a Lincolnshire constituency. Lincolnshire, very much a military county with a number of RAF bases in your patch. Is there a real appetite for war in your part of the world?
Well, I'm a member of the British Legion in Holbeach, actually, and as you know, as you said, Lincolnshire's got a proud history in respect of the RAF, many bases based in my county. But what you just heard, it seemed to me, from the representative of UKIP was actually quite outrageous. Yeah. The idea that we shouldn't intervene when British citizens are being kidnapped and butchered is preposterous.
Are you going to apologise, Amjad Bashir?
Not at all. We should. I reaffirm what I've said. We've inflamed the situation. We've gone in there again and again. Over the last century, we've invaded and bombed the Iraqis again and again. We have done right in Europe. Every decade there used to be a war on the continent of Europe. We brought Europe together. That's what should happen in the Middle East as well. And our interference is not welcome. The people, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Syria, those are the people who should put that right, not us. It's not for us to interfere. And far from stopping people going across, you're radicalising people to go across, because they will interpret this as the invasion from the West. If we don't want to radicalise the youth, what we want to do is stay out of disputes like this, let the regional players sort it out.
Our support for airstrikes is designed to give the Iraqi government the support it needs so that it can effectively fight ISIS. And it's not just Iraq. Increasingly, we're seeing other Middle Eastern states joining the coalition and asking for our support. So it's just not true that the region has asked for our support.
Tim, Angela's outrageous. In the year 2003, her party, Tony Blair, said we were going to Iraq because there were weapons of mass destruction. That was not true. Then mission creep came in. Then it was about changing. Then it was changing regimes. What have you done? There wasn't ISIS there before. There wasn't Al Qaeda there. We've created it by going in there in an illegal war. There was no such thing as radicalisation, and you've got to realise that.
There's no question that this is a legal situation.
John Hayes, by the Prime Minister's own admission, this is going to last years, not months.
This is a legal decision because we were invited to take this action by the Iraqi government. And can I tell you, if it's morally wrong to fight people who are torturing, raping and murdering people, then I have to question your morals. If we're not going to intervene now, when are we going to intervene?
It is morally wrong because ISIS is an organisation which is out of order, which I oppose, which we totally oppose. What we are saying, we shouldn't be involved. We should support the regimes there, like Saudi Arabia, etc. Why aren't they bombing? Why isn't Saudi Arabia bombing? Why isn't Turkey bombing? Who are we, thousands of miles away, risking our young men and exposing ourselves? Why are we doing this?
I think you've made your point.
Yeah. Can I just say that at the heart of this, we're talking about British aid workers who are at risk in Iraq because of the current situation. Alan Henning is being held hostage at this very moment, and we owe it to our own citizens to do what's necessary.
You're endangering the life.
To bring this situation under control, and we're doing it.
You're endangering his life by doing this. You should have held back. You should have realised that the man was being held hostage.
Let Angela make a point.
Can I make my point?
Yes.
Please. We are doing this at the invitation of the Iraqi government. It makes it a completely legal intervention, and we are doing it on behalf of British hostages out there and on behalf of Iraq itself.
You have not thought about Alan Henning's wife and children. You have gone and done this bombing.
Let's move on. This is going to dominate the political agenda for months, years.
Yeah.
We will come back to it. But of course, not for the first time, the political headlines this weekend are being hogged by UKIP. The defection of Tory MP Mark Reckless was the highlight of the party's gathering at Doncaster Racecourse. Nigel Farage reckons UKIP are also set to claim Labour scalps too, and all eyes are on the contest to elect a new police and crime commissioner in South Yorkshire. Len Tingle has the story.
Feeling confident, Nigel?
Confident? Ask me afterwards. I tell you something, it's really interesting. Most people are fearful about public speaking. Whether they have to speak at a wedding or whatever it is, they hate it. And I think they all assume that politicians are a different breed, and somehow for us it's easy and we're not scared. I'm scared, all right?
But it didn't show as Nigel Farage stepped onto the platform in Doncaster on Friday for the most important speech in his party's history. It was the biggest conference the party has ever held, and the venue, a couple of hundred yards from Labour leader Ed Miliband's constituency, was deliberately provocative.
It's a nice piece of symbolism. There have been too many in the BBC and the rest of the media who say, oh, well, of course, UKIP gets votes from Tories. Actually, as you well know, from the Barnsley by-election of 3 years ago onwards, we've increasingly been taking some quite big chunks out of the Labour vote in the north of England. So we're going to Ed Miliband's constituency to have our conference, to say to people in the north of England, if you're a traditional Labour voter, your party actually is not standing up for you on many of the key issues.
Without question, UKIP did well to come second in those by-elections here in South Yorkshire, in Barnsley and Rotherham in 2011 and 2012. Fast forward to the European elections of just May this year, and it's clear that UKIP is catching up fast. Votes were by each local council, and Rotherham saw UKIP with 9% more votes than Labour. Doncaster, it was very close. UKIP edged ahead. Labour came back in Barnsley, but only just at 1% ahead of UKIP. And Sheffield saw Labour take 9% more votes than UKIP. But overall, across South Yorkshire at the European elections, UKIP had just 1.6% fewer votes than Labour. All this before the damaging political nightmare for Labour in Rotherham, the Labour-dominated council under fire for failing to tackle years of sexual abuse on hundreds of young girls in the town.
Your own MP in Rotherham says she's afraid that UKIP will now take over her seat on the back of this.
Of course we'll fight the seats in Rotherham, and we'll fight them on Labour values, with the things we offer, with great MPs that we've got there, who've spoken out eloquently about what happened in Rotherham. But I think the priority is getting things right for the victims of this terrible sexual abuse.
Replacing this man will show just how much damage has been done. Sean Wright, the Labour Police and Crime Commissioner, once the Rotherham councillor in charge of children's services, who's now finally resigned in the wake of the scandal.
The prospective Labour Police and Crime Commissioner has said he doesn't want to be a witch hunt. Well, to be honest, he would say that, wouldn't he? He would actually say that, because there's Labour politicians there who are hiding things. There's been a cover-up.
In the circumstances, UKIP and Labour are likely to be in a two-horse race to fill the 20 months or so before the next scheduled elections for Police and Crime Commissioner in South Yorkshire. Other parties have yet to reveal their runners. Liberal Democrats say they won't bother. And Labour, facing a major test of its support, has already announced that it wants to abolish every commissioner across the country.
Len Tingle there on Nervous Nigel and the UKIPers. Let's go back to the Tory conference in Birmingham. John Hayes, you're a senior advisor to the Prime Minister David Cameron. With UKIP threatening more defections from your party, is it squeaky bum time where you are?
Well, there's only going to be one of two people walking up down the street after the next election, David Cameron or Ed Miliband.
Do you fear that some Labour figures might defect to UKIP?
No, I don't.
Amjad Bashir, I mean, I've heard some criticism over the last few days from some Labour figures suggesting that many people in your party were using the Rotherham child abuse scandal for political gain. Is that fair comment?
No, it's not fair comment. It's a very serious subject. A lot of girls, 1,400 girls, have been abused over the last 16 years. It's political correctness gone mad. Labour Party have hidden the fact that a lot of Asian men were involved in this. These were supporters of the Labour Party. The Labour Party, who should have protected these young girls, vulnerable girls, have failed to do so. And they should have acted against Sean Wright, who was their councillor. They should have removed him. They didn't do. They should have held up their hands, and they should have taken action. And instead, they went round the houses to try and protect these Asian paedophiles and these people that went against these girls, that put them about and abused them. It's the Labour Party at fault, and it is politics. And it is politics because it was politicians that saved these people and gave these people the jobs to protect the girls, and they didn't do so.
You're not going to form the next government, are you?
Mr Hayes, you've failed politically as a political advisor to the Prime Minister. You've lost two MPs already, and you're going to lose several more. And you're going to lose the next election. And UKIP are going to be the power brokers next year.
What's your response to that, John Hayes?
Well, Well, as I've said, in a general election, people are choosing a government. Now, fringe parties add a certain degree of colour to politics. That's the best you can say for the speaker you've had from UKIP today, quite honestly. He's colourful and he's got very odd views, but frankly, he's not going to be part of the next government, is he?
Odd views. Odd views. We're very popular with people. I got nearly 430,000 votes at the European elections, and we won the European elections. We trounced you and trounced Labour, and we're going to do the same next year.
Angela Smith, I mean, lest we forget, Ed Miliband had a bit of a mare of a conference, didn't he? Forgetting to mention the deficit, forgetting to mention immigration in his speech. Do people really see him as the next Prime Minister?
Ed Miliband forgot 2 sections of his speech and he's apologised for that, but at least he hasn't lost 2 MPs and...
style over substance.
And a minister in the last few weeks, so, you know, I think we'll rest that one there. Who UKIP stand for? We just don't know. And at least with Labour, you'll get Labour values, and what we stand for is absolutely clear, and I think people can make a choice next May, and it will be crystal clear. I think John is right on this. It's between us and the Tories.
We're running out of time. We don't list your whole manifesto, please.
Tim, just want to say, here we go again. Play the man, not the ball. They can't attack us on policies. They can't do anything about policies. They're going to attack the man. We've got policies and everything. We're going to save the national health from people like you. From people like you, we're going to save the national health. Did you look at our...
All right, no, come on. Thank you all for your time today.